ratings. There's Peach. Yeah, man. Yeah, it was a very tough decision. And the Tuesday show, the tour was last night. And one, I was just wiped. And I still get wiped by the end of the day. And I had a full day of school yesterday, the last full day before finals, and I just couldn't bring myself to do it. I really wanted to go in and see it. And then I saw pictures, and it was just packed. And I was kind of glad I didn't endure it. But I heard it was great. I had a couple people I know went different dates, and I'm sure it was completely awesome. Like I said, I saw almost that same exact tour more than once years ago, and the bands were great then. I'm sure they're, and I've listened to some of the newer. Yeah, they sold out Baltimore. Oh, okay, yeah, I'll definitely go check it out. I'll definitely go check it out in the fall then. I also saw Bloodywood's coming. I don't know if you saw that, but Bloodywood's coming in the fall too. There he is. There's Mr. Andy. Hope's Flames X. Yeah, Bloodywood's coming, and they're really. I got turned at one of my German friends acquaintances one day, a couple of years ago. Was like, oh, you like ethnic music and folk metal and all that. You really got to check these guys out. And I kind of listened to them once. I was like, oh, they're cool, but I just could rediscover them back through them again, and I was like, wow, they're really cool. But yeah, if the Bay Area is coming back, Bay Area Strikes Back coming back, and they sold out Baltimore too. And people I know were at Baltimore, and they said it was just packed, like wall to wall. And when I saw pictures from TLA, I was like, damn. I was like, it's. So I will definitely go check it out when I come back. This was just bad timing all around. As Andy knows, we haven't even gamed in 3 or 4 weeks now. So I was supposed to be away last week, as you know too, PJ, and then we canned that out. We were supposed to go away this weekend. Of course we picked the weekend to actually go away. That's lousy weather, but that's okay. Uh, we'll see. First world problems. Yeah, I'm hoping next weekend to get something in on Saturday. Oh yeah, Bloodywood. So have you, Pete? Yeah, yeah. I really want to get back to it. In fact, Diana just last night was like, "Are we gonna bang it anytime soon?" I'm like, like I basically was like in my house on the couch for over 2 weeks. Like I wasn't much more I was up to doing. So, and I was still, technically infectious through the end of last week. So I didn't want to even risk it. Hey Mel. Um, yeah, I took the time. I took the time to dive right back into the Tales of the Heartland RPG, and I got a lot written, like a lot, like not enough, not nearly enough, but a lot of the character traits, even and I was saying to a couple, the usuals, my long time people that I've known, one longer than PJ, Blake, who's also met, but Blake and Neil Dalton, who I don't think you ever met Neil PJ, but he was hanging around right around the time you were, but I don't think we ever crossed paths. I met him at a Vampire LARP as well. So well, actually a closed convention pen and paper game, but it was pretty much LARP. But I said to them, it's amazing going back through and writing out things like the talents and the talent trees and stuff for some of the characters. I really, oh, you know what? I never actually articulated how those rules work in the core game. Like I was talking about climbing earlier. I'm like, yeah. There's like literally there's these loose guidelines as to how the skill works, but I have actually no rules for that kind of mechanic. So I put them in, and it was been kind of an interesting experience, and it's a good gear up towards the year of basically being paid to do this. So it's good to settle in. But yeah, I regret missing the gigs. I regret not playing. Though, I've just gotten to the point in life, if I'm not 100% and enjoying it, just, I'll take the pass. But I did regret missing that show quite a bit. I just recently, listen to some of the newer Exodus stuff, and I guess I shouldn't be, but I'm amazed how much they've evolved. Like Testament's still Testament, and it's still real good. And obviously the music's gotten better, and everybody's got. But Exodus has really become its own thing, and I guess I kind of forgot about them for quite a few years. Like I really loved back in the late '80s and early '90s, and I loved Paul Balnoff. That's when I started listening to him when he was still singing. And of course, he met with an untimely end. Well, issues, had life issues, and met with an untimely end. But it was kind of crazy going back now and revisiting even the stuff from the last 10 years, and I'm well, wow, these guys are really still like they've gotten even better, if that's possible. But yeah, PJ, I definitely want to catch Bollywood. I don't know where we're gonna catch them. So they had a Boston show. I don't know. Who knows? So see what happened. Bollywood. Sorry, not Bollywood. So yeah, tonight's just gonna be a loose chat just to get back into it. Happy May the 4th. Sure, everyone has something to say about Star Wars. Boston, September 30. Okay. Um, I know we've got a Wardruna show early in the not weekend though, early in the fall. We're gonna see Maiden like towards the end of October, and we're that's when we're thinking we're going to end up going to Germany this year, assuming that things don't go to complete hell again, the pandemic or a land war or any of these other things. Assuming it's still possible to travel in and out of Europe safely, we do intend to do at some point, but we don't think it's going to be till the very end of October, so I should be around for that tour. But yeah, as you know, obviously I play in a band that's folk metal with we'll call it Eastern influences. Hartford on the 96. Oh, that might be a thing. She doesn't really care about seeing bass strikes back. She likes thrash metal, but that's not her thing. I think she's gonna really like Bollywood though. So I don't. Maybe that'll be a thing. Maybe if it's not something she's really into, I'll consider making a trip up that way. See a couple gigs. I'm on sabbatical. I don't have to be anywhere. I just have to have a laptop to get some work done. That's it. So it's possibly a thing. Yeah, definitely looking forward to seeing that show when it comes back through though. I was even we went to this little um 30 minutes on the road. Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. There's no reason not to. I mean, Sayreville's not far from me now. Like I said, I'm down in New Hope, so it's like an hour and 10 minutes. My good friend of mine lives in Sayreville, and at his house, I've gotten there in an hour, like a little bit more than an hour with just like the low congestion. So it's not a horrendous trip. Philly, of course, is only that on a like a Tuesday night coming back would be 45 minutes to an hour. I got back from Priest in 45 minutes, a couple a month ago or whatever. But yeah, I did the adult thing. As I said, 16 to 25-year-old, he would never have approved of not going to a show even after recovering from being sick. I guess yeah, I saw his posts and I kind of teased him about that. I was like, now, just now. I saw them, I think, on their first tour at the road. I was like, wow, these guys are really good. Oh yeah, well that's still my. I like black metal too. I mean, I like black metal because of what it is, not even because it's necessarily good, just because of what it is and what it was. And I know a lot of the people in that world from Norway, and I've managed to meet a good number of those people, and they're really interesting people. And I mean, I don't know Varg. I don't have any desire to know Varg or any of the other Nazi assholes. But like even some of the guys who are kind of crazy, they're really interesting people to talk to now. So yeah, yeah. I know it's very cool. Yeah, and as you saw me post, and Sean commented, I have it up right now here. Strike of the Beast is a talent in the Tales of the Hard Land game. So There's another reference. So I crammed as many metal class metal references into these talents as I possibly could. I'm very amused by it. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. It'll be amusing. It'll be cool to see. Like, I mean, I know you would get it, and so the people we've known over the years will get it. It'll be cool to see people reading this game to get email. Is that the Judas Priest song? Is that from the Exodus song? Maybe. But yeah, it's been a real dive going. You know, I must say, being basically told to stay home a week and a half from work was kind of fortuitous. Like, again, I know I'm privileged because I have a job that covers things like that. I know other people like, you know, I mean, China even is fine in terms of. All right, Jim. Yeah, no, well, someone else said that too. Someone else on my feed, a person we met at a festival, Adder Clement said that too. He's like, yeah, like 2/3 of my ideas are headers for metal, are headers for metal bands. Say there's Flesh of the Blade. Uh, most of these shots of brilliance come in at like 2 in the morning or something when I'm sitting there half awake. Then I go to edit the next morning and I'm like, what am I thinking? Not with the titles, but sometimes some of the language use. I'm like, wow, did I really write that? I'm so glad I'm the only one that's ever seen that. Those who just yeah, those guys. Yes. Niall's pretty good. I mean, I've never been like a crazy fan, but I've always thought they were kind of that for for that incarnation of sort of blackish thrash metal. I just thought they were pretty good. But yeah, I'm not a huge fan. I mean, like I don't follow them necessarily, but I think I have seen them once. Yeah, well, and that's a lot of. I mean, I hate to admit it, and I know that you and I will be at odds on this one, but I feel something about Primus. Like the music really interests me. I can take his voice for maybe 20 minutes at a shot, and then I'm good. You know, and there's actually Queensryche. Like I said, people don't believe me when I'm like, I've never been able to stand Jeff Tate's voice. And it's not he's obviously a good singer, right? Clearly, he's a very good singer, but just something about his voice. Candace Knight from Blackmore's Night. I mean, they're very different. They're like Renaissance folky, but still, like her voice, it's certain, and she can clearly sing. She'll sing better. She sings better than I ever will. But certain pitches she hits, and I just can't listen to it anymore. And I'm like, even though it's Blackmore playing guitar, right? I can listen to that all day. But like her voice kicks in, and I'm like, you know, nope, just don't need to hear anymore. I saw like three people leave. I saw like three people leave chat. Oh, I haven't been putting the chat, sending the chats through. So yeah, I'll start now. There, put some chats through. I saw like two people dump chat when I started dissing Queensryche and Blackmore's Night. Probably like friend of mine from the Ren Fair, like, oh, God, oh my god, he hates Blackmore's Night, which I don't. Yeah. Oh, your phone's being working. Yeah, that happens. So yeah, that's another confession. I don't really like most American death metal. Um, Cannibal Corpse. Yeah. Okay. Um, yeah. Yeah. They're all Carrie trying to log in. She knows. She knows when to. I saw Jeff Tate with her. I went to see Jeff Tate with her. She didn't have anyone else to go with. And I made it clear. I was like, I'm doing this as a friend because I really don't sit through Jeff Tate ever again. And clearly, the guy's a good vocalist. It's not about his talent. It's just something about his voice that I just never been a fan. Um, I even invited her to go to that pre-show with me. Tate didn't sing for Queensryche, but Queensryche was playing, and I was like, if you want a free ticket, I'll just screenshot that for Carrie. That's pretty funny. Um, But yeah, like yeah, so like Morbid Angel, I really always thought their music's kind of interesting. Well, Death's an exception. They're definitely were an exception, and they are in that realm of bands for me that are kind of that hollowed ground thing. Like you just don't talk shit about them. They were also really the first band to do it, and kind of originated the term death metal. So yeah, they're definitely a pretty kick-ass band. Morbid Angel. I saw like the single Morbid Angel lineup. What did I see him open for? Was it Overkill? I don't know. It was somebody at the New Ritz. Yeah, exactly. Pretty much. And though I got the gates, yeah, I definitely like that era. But yeah, I saw this Morbid Angel lineup, and people just couldn't believe that I had seen this show and was just not. I was like, yeah, we're good. I was not insane over it. I was like, yeah, Southern death metal, Southern. Yeah, Opeth's a different creature. I mean, they're so progressively oriented. Their stuff gets so complex. They become this entirely different animal. So yeah, I saw Obituate Metal and Beer 2 years ago, 3 years ago. I mean, they were good. They had the cool H.P. Lovecraft book cover there was Mountains of Madness or Doom That Came to Sarnath or one of those. Yeah, Midnight Rocks. They're just this completely different thing, and they're really cool. I always say they're like them who like start off really knowing how to play instruments, and I mean they're even more tongue in cheek than Venom, if that's even possible. Like somebody said recently, another acquaintance of mine said, "Yeah, I was kind of disappointed when I read, Kronos saying, oh, Venom was never really about the music, it was about the show," and he was like really disappointed. I was like, that's seriously how I always felt about them. I always felt it was like, you know, yeah, exactly. They literally are, completely Venom worship, and I was always fine with that. I was I was never I only saw them once. They opened for Abbott. Well, no, it was actually Obituary was the headliner, and we left before Obituary because we had just seen them at Metal and Beer earlier in the year, and Abbott was the main act I went there to see. But Midnight opened. I actually hadn't seen them live before. We One of my bands was, yeah, no, this is different Midnight Andy. Let's see. different night. I don't know that night. There's got to be a couple bands named Midnight. One of my bands one year actually almost was on a bill with Midnight, and it would not even have been a match, but it was just what the promoter was looking at lining up as far as we didn't do it. But yeah, I really have to see them. I don't know how I've never seen them. Um, they're one of those bands that did totally transform the landscape, and I would like to see. Now they just played Beyond the Gates over in Norway, which a bunch of people were at, and they all, you know, they were all just like, that was one of the most incredible bands I've ever seen live. Yeah, yeah. Again, sorry I missed the show, but I just took the the path of sanity and maturity and decided to not. I was going to pop in and out. They'll probably like, I thought we were talking about Star Wars. Here we're talking about heavy metal. It's all right. they don't talk about Star Wars. They start a conversation. Who cares about Star Wars anyway? Yeah, absolutely. That's just the reality. And if I didn't have class most of the day on Tuesday, I probably would have gone into Philly for the show. But I'm glad to hear it's come back because I'll definitely catch it. So the other death, right? The punk band. Oh yeah, absolutely. Right. Yeah, all of us used to do these ridiculous things like yeah, or like in addition to role playing all weekend, going to a show one of the nights, and you just yeah, I just you know what? It's not even that I couldn't physically do it. I have like all adults, we all have so many other things to do that if we're not functional, it doesn't get done. You know, and forget day work, forget the day job. I mean, it's almost finals week. I probably could have gone on no sleep and actually been fine. Actually faked it pretty well. But and the main thing was just not wanting to completely trash myself. Yeah. The other death. Yeah. Those guys were amazing. They were so groundbreaking and no one knew anything about them. No one knew a thing about them. But yeah. Yeah. I wanted to just get on tonight and just back into this. If it wasn't topical, you know. I almost didn't even do it. Then I was like, wait, it's May the 4th. If worst comes to worst, a bunch of people want to come on and talk about Star Wars. We can talk about Star Wars. I've only ever played the Star Wars RPG maybe three times, and they were all good. They were all fun. Just never had any group that like lasted with it. Like three times a week, I'm just like, man, whose idea was it to write a role playing game? This is a lot of work, which of course it was. But to think of the pages and pages I wrote, like in high school and college, I mean, most of it wasn't very good by today's standards. But it seems so much easier to just come right up to the forefront. Do you do any streaming services, PJ? I mean, I do Apple Music, so like a lot of stuff like Some Death. Yeah, you know the guitar. Yeah, let's not even talk about that. I may have been looking at instruments online, not a guitar, but I don't even want to think about it. I'm like, you really don't need anything else. Actually, we have. What do you play? I don't think ever. I kind of knew you did music at some point, but I didn't know you would spend a lot of time with it. Hi, cat. There might be a cat. Some. Yes. Come here. He's my chat cat. Cat's making an appearance. He likes when I sit in this chair. Yeah, I Apple Music. I mean, it's evil like all of them. But I found one we got like months and months free subscription last time I bought an iPhone, so I just used that and I just stuck with it. I just kind of don't do. I just kind of don't do Spotify if I can absolutely help it. I mean, I know they're all bad, but Spotify is just the worst as far as payment of musicians and again, I understand it's fine. Hey, I've got a friend that does a whole electronic music, like an electronic music career off of Spotify. You hear some Goroth. Yeah, I like Goroth, too, what it is. Again, I like all that stuff for what it is. Yeah, but yeah, yeah, that doesn't even like that doesn't even make sense. Like that no way makes sense. Um, Apple Music is really pretty good with suggestions, and sometimes it'll queue up a playlist once the album I'm playing is done, and it's usually pretty close. I've even found a few things where I've been like, "Oh, cool!" Like I hadn't really heard that before. I hadn't really paid that much attention to that before. Ridiculous. Yeah, Demu. So it's funny because you're at the other end of black metal. Like Satyricon, they're again they're obviously excellent, and I like their music. They're really, and perhaps this is just my taste in the genre, but I like the stuff that is definitely rougher in production. Even some of the newer stuff like Mook from Norway, Borway. From Norway, Mook is like kind of, if kind of a next incarnation iteration of Dark Throne or Emperor or something like that. Dimmu Borgir, I like them. And we saw them a couple of years ago in Norway. They were I mean they were really good, but again they were almost more, and probably this might explain some of your tastes where they definitely had some more like power symphonic elements going on, which wasn't bad. It's just not what I like as much. Yeah, I like that's the kind of black metal I like. I mean, and again, it's not even necessarily. I'm not necessarily saying it's great music. I'm saying I like it. It's like there's just something about that rawness. Something gets me a bit much. Like Dark Throne, who I love, even some of their early stuff. I can't. It's like Celtic Frost with like no real, like you said, no real microphone or no amps on their cars. It's kind of like, but I think that music that's part of what it was. To me, that's a lot like punk, or even some hip hop. Like to me, that well, hip hop's all about production, but to me, some of that's about it sounding like it's supposed to sound, whether you like it or not. So, what kind of guitar do you have, PJ? What kind of guitars do you have? Yeah, black and roll. Yeah, yeah. Like I said, the Met is definitely in that category, and they're awesome. And they're just fun. They're so good to watch. They're one of those bands that showmanship is so good. Banishment between looking at some more musical instruments online and looking at camera stuff, I'm just like, you really should just stop. You really don't need to buy anything right now. Just stop. Like, cool. The Martin Guitar Factory is not far from me in PA. If you're ever down this way, Justin plays in Martin. Justin sometimes pops on. He's a professional. Wendell Steinberger. Yeah, yeah. I've got Defender Squire Strat. Just a little guy just to play around with and learn on. And I've also got a Schecter Omen. That's like my black metal guitar. But I haven't played guitar enough to get good at it. I can play and I'm not terrible, but I really should just go back. But I once I started doing the bagpipe lessons, professional lessons, I just went all the way down the rabbit hole. There. A Jackson V, yeah, yeah, really nice. What's up, Noel? Anything anything exciting going on? We're just BSing. Not a very topical chat. Yeah, ESP The ESPs are really nice too. In fact, I got the Schecter really well. It was kind of landed in my lap. It's legal. I didn't take from anybody, but it's kind of on a permanent loan from a friend who can't play it because he hefted up his shoulder and it's too heavy. He's playing other guitars. He was like, because I told him I was interested in like. And then he was like, because he likes ESP. He was like, you should look at an ESP. He goes, I know the Schecter has the whole marketing and the whole heavy metal marketing and all that, but he said you should really just check out the ESPs. They're great guitars. But again, I really don't need another guitar. Yeah, it fell off the truck. Yeah, yeah, and it wasn't even like that. Like I said, it was literally the guy. He's a guy that plays with a companion band of ours down in Baltimore, and I just was hitting. He's mainly a guitarist, and I was just hitting him up for info on that. And he was just kind of like, yeah, he goes, yeah, well, I can't play this because it's too heavy, not musically, but physically heavy. Did my chat dial stop working again? That's frustrating. Title back to me. All right, let's see if I can. Let me see what's in that chat. Yeah, I wasn't sure if this was gonna be a hardcore May the Fourth chat. How many Star Wars people would want to make it a chat? So far, hasn't been very hardcore. Let me paste this browser source. See if that works. It's been working all day. Now, of course, I actually have a few people in. The chat dialogue stops working. Catted. Likes it. Nice in this chair. He's a silly little cat. Oh, I don't care, you guys. You guys can chat out whatever you would like. Did that just come through? Like I said, I thought it'd be Star Wars and Star Wars gaming or whatever. Right now, we're just talking about music, which is usually what you and I talk about. That's fine. You so yeah. Let's talk about that. I was hoping that one come on. Cause he had a couple winners that he sent me in text today. Um, yeah. So back seriously, have a wall of the office lightsaber and the other guitars. Yeah, that's definitely cool. Um, so you say I get in trouble with the Star Wars discussion because I'm an old Star Wars nerd who's completely unaffected by nostalgia. Talk about the new movies being bad just makes me whisper they were always bad movies. Well, objectively, by movie making standards, except perhaps for Empire Strikes Back, none of them were great movies, right? Now, obviously grew up in the Star Wars era. I've been greatly affected by Star Wars, but I can also, as a person who even has some knowledge of film writing and filming, like objectively, they weren't great movies. I mean, my thing is, you know, see, I guess we'll just launch into it. My thing is, I don't understand who's and yeah, no, I seriously have been doing it. Um, so I was just effing around, but who knows, I might leave them. So the game is very sword and sorcery, 80s Conan the Barbarian, Beastmaster, and feel. So I think having the metal names would actually fit in some way, shape, and form. Now the question is, um, how would I go about integrating that, and is it really something that I'm going to do in the final draft of this? I really don't know. I don't have any idea if I would want to keep, you know, Judas Priest songs and Maiden songs as talents and skills in my game world. And it's just because I've never really been a big fan of not using original content on original nomenclature and whatnot in IPs. It'll probably change, but I'm kind of amusing myself with it right now. Um, who knows? Who knows? The art is definitely getting pretty heavy metal. If you've seen any of Jeff's work, it's definitely got some of that. Let me refresh some stuff here. We'll have a cat whose name is Laszlo, like in What We Do in the Shadows, is attached to my thumb like a mini vampire. Yeah, I mean, Star Wars to me was always a fantasy, right? It's a fantasy set in space. Um, I, I, as I said, I've definitely gotten over any emotional attachment to the franchise. Died with Phantom Menace. I waited so long to see a new Star Wars movie. Then Blake Tulo and I went for an opening night, midnight showing of it. We're just like, what the hell did we just watch? Even I mean, we tried to convince ourselves like, there's Mando, there is Mandalorian, and so Anna and I have talked about this. Um, I he's looking forward to the Obi-Wan show. I care less, really, and it's not that I won't watch it. I'm sure I'm gonna watch it and enjoy it, but I'm like, I just don't want any more. Like I just so no way. You know what? I knew he was in New Jersey. Carrie, Sean, Bigelow, and you all went to school with, so, all went to school with Jar Binks. All right, that's funny. Oh man, that's worth knowing. What the fan did to him, in terms of the deadly mockery, or is there something more? Yeah, I mean, to the Old Republic could be really interesting, honestly. I think that whole era of so that's what I've said. I think that whole era of Star Wars is so much more interesting than anything that will be done now. And I think that my big gripe with Obi-Wan, and we talked about the Vandy on text, and a couple of the other people I know, like Blake can't wait for it. Neil can't wait for it. Oh, really? Yeah. Huh. That's really interesting. Really, really. I guess I'm just a reptile because I don't know, people's opinions really don't mean anything to me. So I guess I am a sociopath. But I guess I understand. It's pretty young too, right? When all that happened. I mean, it's terrible, but fans are gonna be shitty, right? Fans are always gonna be shitty. Like, to me, the blame lies in the writing and direction of that movie. I mean, that was my thing. Yeah, well, yeah, it was his first major Hollywood gig. I mean, I guess not everybody has that stamina to be like, I really don't care. And I guess, again, I'm talking from the perspective of a person who now has been in the arts longer than half of his life, has been forced to become immune to criticism, basically, to get anything done. I guess as a young person, and actors are a different breed. Actors, I think, sometimes take things a lot more personally. Oh, absolutely. It's actually so okay to just circle back to, yeah, Lucas should have been told no, exactly. To circle back to what Andy was saying, um as far as the Ben Kenobi show, my thing is just that there are so many other bases, characters, and possibilities to explore the Star Wars universe. I don't have the emotional attachment to the Obi-Wan I knew when I was 8 years old, who was my favorite character. Maybe Han Solo or Obi-Wan, but I mean, it's like I don't have enough of an attachment to really care about a whole show about Obi-Wan and or Tatooine. I don't want any more Tatooine. Okay, I never thought I'd say that. Like I never thought I would say, okay, I'm done. As far as the game is actually, despite the fact that I've really played up this whole heavy metal, blood and guts sort of environment, it's actually very story and narrative focused. And obviously, in a world like this, in a world that's set in this kind of emerging Bronze Age-ish culture, there is going to be violence and darkness and all this, but I've also got a pretty rich urban and political world in place and cultural clashes. Like it's all human centric. That's kind of the thing that differentiates it from a lot of other worlds. It's human centric, so a lot of what goes on is in between people. There are creatures out there, for lack of a better word, but they don't serve the same roles like a deity monster. Like, don't go out and look for monsters to kill and take their stuff. I guess you could, but that's not really the point of it. So, the games I've run of it, one was kind of an overland tour of the continent and the cultures. That was an extended campaign. The game that Andy's played 4-hour play tests, I mean, there was actually very little combat, especially for Andy's character who hid in the grass, which was awesome. That was an awesome portrayal of the character. It really wasn't combat oriented, and in fact, it kind of almost got a little more, hey, there he is, what's up, Fuzz? The game also almost got a little bit more H.P. Lovecraft Reanimator when they realized what the whole subplot was, and they had to defeat this sorcerer or aid sorcerer. They had to make a decision that was trying to do something. So it's got a little bit more of that sort of vibe to it, and like a D&D hack slash or anything like that. So, but the heavy metal titles and all that were just things that I came up with while I was describing them. So that's kind of the irony. Yes, you were investing the glass very clearly. What's going on, Fuzz? You didn't go to the Exodus Testament show? PJ and I were talking about it earlier. This one in Sayreville, New Jersey. Yeah, it's very soft grass. Very soft that he could hide in. I don't know, I kind of say up front in the intro to the book that it could be taken in this context of the barbarian horror or whatever, but it could also be entirely urban and politically based. And in fact, in one early, like, kind of just fun, when I had the most basic version of the rules down, I just ran a really quick play test with a couple local people. Everyone made social characters, which was really interesting. So it was a totally different type of game. So going back to Star Wars, I'm going to see the same characters over and over again. It's like they're afraid. Yeah, it is. It's like they're afraid to branch out. They're afraid to branch out and try something different with the Star Wars franchise. And a lot of people have defended that and said, well, they're going to have a captive audience. They do another show about Obi-Wan, or another young Han Solo, which I don't think they're going to do. I'm just saying, throwing things out there, and but I think they're wrong, because The Mandalorian was so great and everybody loved it so much because there was that sense of familiarity with the Mandalorian culture and this take on Mandalorian culture we've not seen before. But then they had a totally new cast characters that overlapped with other arcs but were unique, and that's what kind of ticks me off when Book of Boba Fett became what it was, because I was like, it was great to see Luke too again, but I was like, sound clipping. Is anyone getting that? I have another microphone on here tonight. No? Interesting. I don't think I'm peaking. How about now? think I noticed this in another. Uh, huh, okay, that's weird. You know what? Let me switch mics then. Thanks for calling me. Let's see if it'll let me pop over to the onboard mic. Okay, how about that? See how that goes. Yeah. So this is a microphone. The one I was just using is a Shure MV5, which is going through a USB to a C connector, and it very well could be that just in this particular setup doesn't work well. I use it for my music lessons online, and that works pretty well. I don't know how it's now. I switched over to the onboard mic on the Mac. Could also be my signal. Though it's improved. I've had still skipping. Yeah. All right. Gonna have to probably deal with it for the moment, and I'll look into it for the next time I do this. Actually, let me do this. All right. I don't know. How about now? Still doing the tapping now? No, it's fine. I'd rather know. Like I said, this is just an informal chat to get back to it, but I'm glad you let me know so I could do a thorough test before I do another full broadcast. I also just muted my MacBook speakers in case there's any kind of feedback going on there. I don't know. Weird. Like I said, it could also very well be my signal because the signal back here, even though recently Comcast did some resets on the systems back here, it's still been All right, that's weird. Curious or curiouser. I don't know if there's anything else I could do. I'll have to look at the settings on Twitch Studio. I'm also going to be inheriting, borrowing a new high-end Alienware. I'm going to shut down a couple things that are in the background, just in case. High-end Alienware for the summer to practice Unreal Engine on. So we'll try it off that system too, and see if that is enhanced performance. This is not a new MacBook; it's older, but it could just be that the signal or the connection or something. I'm glad you let me know, so that way, if I were to be doing like a more formal broadcast, at least I could aware of it. It could be Twitch. Depends how busy Twitch is. If there's any latency going on the Twitch service. I don't know. Wednesday to hot Twitch now. I've actually thought about switching to a different streaming platform anyway. I'll take a look at that. Yeah, no. Yeah, well, Andy's been here. He knows what my Wi-Fi here is like sometimes. So it could, like I said, could be signal. Could be signal on my end. So anyway, yeah, Andy said about Star Wars. The big issue of Star Wars again not breaking out into new ground. And yeah, that's kind of how I feel. And that's why I've just kind of like, yeah, all right, I'll watch what's out, but I'm not going to put a huge amount of stock in it and get excited for it. I love Mandalorian. I think the Mandalorian's excellent. I hope it maintains, and I hope it doesn't sidetrack and become something that is redundant or ground they already covered. And yeah, PJ, it's funny because I remember that guy being from Jersey, and I don't know. I I wasn't as heavily in touch with you guys by the time Phantom Menace and all that came out. But for some reason, I think Carrie probably told me that she had gone to high school with him. So that's probably how I knew that. But yeah, interesting. I didn't know he had such trauma from the Man Backlash, and again it's sad because I never thought of it as fault of the dude who got stuck playing, the dummy alien. I was just like, yeah, yeah. That was probably the conversation that I had. That I kind of knew that. I didn't put it all together again until you just said it. Yeah, yeah. What's bad? Like I thought the kid was actually a great actor. I just thought, of course, the writing and direction was horrible. Disney's writer wage theft. Well, I'm not even surprised. Shocked. I'm not even. I mean, I'm not even shocked. Again, my dislike of Disney is absolutely legendary. That's why it kills me. I've got a Disney Plus subscription. Yeah, I'm not surprised. Jingle all the time. That's funny. I didn't know that. Yeah, yeah. I have a pretty intense dislike of Disney as an entity. Um, forget forget anything about any of their media because they produce some wonderful stuff. Historically, some of their stuff. I mean, I teach an animation class where we break down the principles of animation according to Disney. It's just their company policies and their entire company ethos have just been awful for 60, 70 years. Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely horrible. Absolutely horrible. I think I saw that. Stanley and Jim Henson. Right. There's Lake. Yeah, I don't buy anything Disney sells. So Lake's excited for V1 too. Uncle Walt was the inventor. I'm going to need you to come in Saturday. You can't make it. Don't they're coming in Sunday? It's true. It's true. Their company ethics always been really awful. I mean, above and beyond normal awful. Forget the Donald Duck commemorative place for SS. Forget that. Like forget that kind of awful, right? Just their entire way they've treated employees, which has actually, from what I understand, gotten better in the last 20 years. Because I do know people who have worked at Disney, and as both cast, including Minnie Mouse, and performers who've ended up forming there, and they all have a very different opinion. You know, Minnie Mouse Anniversary flashlight. Somebody has to have licensed. Somebody has to have. Yeah. Somebody, or it's in some factory someplace in another part of the world where licensing doesn't matter. As a friend of ours from Taiwan once said, "Copyright? What's that?" Ha ha ha. As he proceeded to download everything he could find and send it to all his friends. He just, I mean, like on ass. He just didn't. He was just like, yeah. He goes, Taiwan, don't care about that. He's like, okay, Jeff. I've never been to Disney. I've never even had a desire to go. Star Wars Land looked pretty cool. Still, just I could probably do other things before I do that. But they did put out some nice movies and shows past 5 years. So kind of kills me that I like some of it as much as I do. Hey Blake, are you hearing me cut out too? Like once every couple seconds, a blip. 6K Galaxy's Edge. Yeah. Yeah. Oh boy. 6K I can go to Europe for a month. That's I mean, again, I know some of my interests are different. And I know a lot of people really get into Disney and movies and all that stuff. But I've got one friend who just, her and her family, her kids are adults now, her and her family go every year religiously. It's their thing. A lightsaber dildos? Who knows? Maybe that Sky's going to come back with a lightning wong. Psycho is pretty crazy. Is that this year's lineup? Emperor, Merciful Fate, Suicidal. And somebody else big just announced they were going to be playing it. Somebody from overseas, and I was blown away. You know what? I've been to Vegas several times. I don't like that's the saga. Yeah, I don't like Vegas because of everything it is. The same way I don't like Disney. But I'd go to Disney. I'd go to Vegas before I go back to Vegas before I go to Disney. Honestly, I go to Psycho Vegas. I don't think we're going to, but I mean that I would consider going. I mean we're planning to Norway in August if nothing else goes shit in the world. And we're going to be seeing Midgard's Blood. So actually, some of the bands are going to be there. KMFDM playing it. That's bizarre. It's bizarre they're going to be playing that with that line. Maybe it's not. They did play with Slayer at some point. I was out in California, one of their shows. They played with a bunch of thrash, deep LA thrash bands early on. Yeah, Monster Mango was going to be there. Another band I never got deep into. A different lineup. Yeah, KMFDM's doing something else. They're doing this gig with a bunch of old industrial and that type of stuff. I think. And I never saw them. Shockingly. Never got to it. But I know now they're like a shadow of what they used to be, but still. They were definitely important back in the day. Two whole nights, $6,000 for Galaxy's Edge, huh? Yeah. Yeah. No. So has everyone else been up to? What you been up to, Fuzz? Anything big? Exciting? You're going to made it in Newark, right? Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So Diana was like one of the world's biggest Nine Inch Nails fans as a teenager in the 80s and early 90s, and she said it was like the most disappointing show she's ever seen. And it's sad because it's sad when you finally see a band you love and you can't stand it. And she was like it was bad. Yeah. She was like, it was. Yeah, you're gonna make. Yeah, okay. So I'll be there. Hopefully, maybe we can for a drink or something beforehand. But awesome. That's great. Last time we saw them, there was a guy next to us who had kids with them, and they were one was the daughter's friend. They were maybe like early teenagers, and they were like really into it. And it was great seeing somebody encouraging young women to get into something heavy metal. You know, as you know, in our day, it was all sausage all the time. To those gigs. So, I mean, down in Baltimore, 2/3 of the people in metal bands with me or in the band we play with are women. You know, it's different now. But 10 years old, all right. That'll be a sight because it's such a big show too. Like the spectacle is always so huge. Like even if you're not into music, which you probably is because she lives with you, probably. Yeah, I should probably get a real kick out of that. At least I was just blown away by the sheer scale. Going to metal references in our land. If there isn't some kind of oath-making ritual called bonded by blood, so here's what's funny. I actually don't have it called bonded by blood, but there is a magical slave bread blood ritual that is bonding, and I should have just called it bonded by blood. I can't believe I did not think of that. It has an ethnic, it has a Hapshar name for the Hapshar who created the ritual. But yeah, I could always reference as the play scenario is called Blood Bondage, actually, because it's all about trying to get one of these slave brains. And you have to undertake this task, get rid of these slave brands. So there's some reference. It was somewhere in my brain, but it wasn't deep into that territory yet. Like I said, a lot of what I had, like even the stuff that Andy saw and all the stuff that Blake and Tom and Bill, our other friend Bill, my colleagues, and Neil played the playtest through, it was really all just notes. I mean, kudos to my playtesters who suffered through basically, 40 pages, 50 pages of my notes to help play this game. I'm just getting to the point of getting it to a point that it is a document that I would send to people. I even made a comment to Jaffe when he commented on my thread on Facebook. I said, Sean, I said, hopefully by the end of the summer, it'll be ready, just sending out playtest packets or meet up for playtests. So, because I've only played tests with people for the most part that I know. I had one, my one friend, she scooped a bunch of her online friends to do a blind play test with me at one point, and that was pretty cool because it was a couple of people who were really well versed in writing and run game material. So it was great having these people who I don't know come in, play it, and give me feedback, and have no problem giving me really blunt feedback, which all my groups do. Like, Blake, Tom, and those guys have a problem saying if they don't like something, and that's great. I mean, that's what I want. Instead of just telling me I suck like Blake does, I'd like some actual feedback, but I'll just take that from him. Yeah, it's a trip. And like I said, I never thought I'd be paid for a year to come and do this. It's crazy. But being sick for 2 weeks was not good. Man, I'll catch you later. I'll log off in a few minutes anyway. Yeah. Catch you later. See you later. It was good talking to you. But let's see. Oh yeah. Blake's the number guy. He totally really worked out some of the numbers, even early on with some drafts, and it's just like, those numbers aren't going to work. It's like, nah, they're going to work. And we play them once. He was right, but that didn't work. And I imagine we're still going to see some of that. I mean, you can't account for everything. There's no whole nother going to be 30 pages of the combat styles and the talent trees for non-combat, non-magic stuff to flesh out characters. And I'm sure there's stuff in there I didn't see. In my mind, it's working perfectly, and I'm sure when one sits down with it, it's going to be something that has to be fixed. That's the way it goes. Like I said, I teach a class on this, and I have students who've been working on the same game for 6 weeks, so I realize something doesn't work. I'm like, welcome to the club. That's why we're playtesting. That's why every game session, a class session, we sit there for 4 hours and play every one of the games until we're tired of them. I'm like, this is how you find out if things work. I know Blake is absolutely dying for another prequel style Star Wars race. So Blake, I don't know if you were ever around when Carrie said this, but I don't know if you recall that Carrie, John Bigelow, PJ, all those guys, yeah, absolutely. And that's the reality is that Magic just I put more work into it because I had to. But I don't know if you realize that whole crew, PJ was just telling me, all went to school with Jar Jar Binks. They all went to high school with Jar Jar Binks and did theater with him and stuff. Like, I'd forgot about this because Carrie told me this years ago. And I totally kind of internalized it that he was from New Jersey, from that area, but Peter just reminded me. They're personal friends of Jar Jar Binks. Should have him meet Tom. Tom will worship him. Tom's the prequels. Tom's older than I am. I'm like, what's wrong? Yeah, well, exactly. Yeah, well, PJ could tell you about that. That basically it almost ruined his life. I mean, he almost threw himself off a page. But yeah, I mean, it wasn't his fault. It was the script and the direction. Well, I obviously like, bad for the guy, but it really wasn't his fault. Like, even the kid that played Anakin, young Anakin, that's been the same thing. Like, everyone has said the kid's actually a really good actor. It was just a terrible script. I've never read those, Andy. Read a media. I have to. Here's what's funny. So occasionally I'll get a student in who who their first exposure to Star Wars were the prequels as a kid, and they definitely have nostalgia about it, and I get it. Like that, I'm totally okay with. But as a person who had grown up with the original Star Wars and waiting 30 years to see this next movie, I mean, I was telling them, Blake, you and I went to the midnight showing of that. We walked out there like, what was that? Was that real? Was that a joke? Like that wasn't really the new Star Wars movie, right? It really wasn't, right? So I'll have to check them out. And now we just blame Disney for this coming after. All right, guys, I'm gonna wrap it up tonight. Thanks for coming on. It was good to get back to it. I thought I should at least get back to it a little bit. Start getting back into the habit of it because it's too easy to get out of it. You bought tickets for the showing? Yep, the 2 shows. Couldn't. Yeah, right. That's right. We had like four showings for tickets. Yeah, thanks for. Yeah, well, it's about your age there, Andy. That a lot of most of the students might have are a little younger, and they. But even in the last couple of years, yeah, would have been in their mid to early 20s the past few years, and some of them really loved it, and I get it because it was a nostalgia thing, much like I think, and like PJ and I said earlier, like, and we've talked about this objectively, maybe except for Empire, the first 3 movies weren't great movies by movie making standards. You know, they were fantasy, they were space opera, they weren't. The effects were amazing, the environments were amazing, creatures were amazing, the ideas were really interesting, but as far as actual movies compared to what else was being done, compared to Alien, right? Or a few years later, John Carpenter's The Thing. I understand those are hard, but still, like the writing in those, or Jaws that came out the same year or the year before, the writing is just like so good. But again, Star Wars is Star Wars. It's part of everything I'm into. Yeah. Yeah, and Return was honestly kind of a shit film. Like we watch every year, we watch a couple of the movies over again. We did the trilogy last year, I think, and I was like, yeah, Return of the Jedi kind of sucks, actually. Like it was cool pretty much through Jabba the Palace. What would John Carpenter do? Seriously, basically, that's kind of one of my life mottos. What would John Carpenter do? The Thing is still one of Halloween, of course, but The Thing is still just, I mean, it's horrifying. As an adult, I watch the movie and it's tense. And I don't really get scared by movies, but there's that tension, there's that creep, there's that everything. So like the original Alien or the original Halloween. I watched the original Halloween right before Halloween 2 or 3 years ago with the lights out, and it was still scary. I was like, this is still creepy. Like this is still really creepy. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Talk to you hopefully next week. Oh, I talk to some of you regularly. I talk to Blake every day. But everybody else I talk pretty regularly. Andy, hopefully maybe next week we'll get a game back together. Sure, man. Hopefully next weekend we can plan a